Video 1.1 Welding Code Intro.
So here are some organizations within the United States that produce welding codes, and they all have different scopes. You see, we have the American Welding Society. Their big one is structural steel. They have a bridge code, but they generally stick to things that are not under pressure for the most part. The American Society of Mechanical Engineers, ASME, they do things that are under pressure. Generally, they start with boilers, but they do nuclear, they do piping systems. They've got a whole laundry list of codes that are for things, components, and structures that are under pressure. ANSI, American Society, National Standards Institute, we've got the American Petroleum Institute. They do pipeline stuff and related petroleum type situations, components, and facilities that have to do with petroleum. American Bureau of Shipping, well, they do ships, welding codes for ships. A lot of Department of Transportations have welding codes, and not necessarily welding codes per se, but they'll use the AWS bridge welding code, which is AWS D1.5, and then the military branches, U.S. Army and Navy, they also have uh, welding codes that they use and specifications. Okay, we're going to talk about code standards and specifications. First up is a code. It's a collection of rules and regulations relating to a particular subject, kind of like a law, but like the structural code. It's a bunch of rules, it's a systematic collection of rules and regulations that we use for the construction of structures using carbon steel, AWS D1.1, structural welding code. Well, then we've got things that are a standard, a rule or rules established by a knowledgeable authority and accepted by common consent as a basis of comparison. So, like a standard, trying to think of a good example, a safety standard. We don't wash our boots with gasoline while smoking. We have a standard that we all accept by common consent and say, yep, this is a good idea. We're not going to do this. And then a specification. This is a statement or statements outlining the particular details considered necessary to achieve a specific purpose. So specification would be if I write up a specification and we're building a power plant and I want the welds done to a certain way, I would use a code and a standard to guide me, but then a specification would be for that specific job and that job only. So that would be the differences between a code, standard, and a specification. So codes, it's a regulatory document. It's the most forceful position is to the codes. Sometimes, like a boiler and pressure vessel code or AWS D1.1, some of these can be enacted into law, depending on where you're at and what the legislative organization in that jurisdiction wants to do. Specifications and standards are often included in a code by reference, and they're secondary. So it goes a code, and then you go into a specification and a standard. They're the next on the list. And then either the specification or standard or both can also become a law by reference through a code. So this slide is just basically telling us that codes and standards can be turned into law depending on specific situations. So for the most part in the United States, there's probably I would consider there's three big authors of welding codes, and this is just who I've run across in my career. So the three main organizations in my career have been the American Welding Society, the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, and the American Petroleum Institute. There's others, but to me, these are the three biggest, or maybe the three most common that you might intersect in your welding career. The Department of Defense has either uses these codes or they develop their own codes. So everybody pretty much has a welding code. Okay, the three main organizations that I've dealt with are the American Welding Society, AWS, the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, ASME, and the American Petroleum Institute, API. These are the three biggies. There's other ones out there, like I said, but these are the three biggies. All of these organizations have a lot of different codes for the various different structures and processing facilities and different types of welded components for different situations and materials and temperatures and whatnot. So there's a lot of different welding codes is what I'm getting at. And these various organizations each produce multiple welding codes, and you need to figure out what you're working on before you pick a welding code. Design specifications and approved materials are included in these codes. So a lot of these codes are going to include design specifications, you know, what you can use for materials and a lot of the design criteria. And the codes we're going to look at in here are just the major ones, and we're going to just hit a brief overview. We're not going to get crazy and give you a comprehensive, this is every last welding code under the sun. So the ASME is the boiler and pressure vessel code. In 1911, there was a whole bunch of boiler explosions. So arc welding and oxyacetylene welding were just starting to become popular. And as I said, there was a bunch of boiler explosions. So the American Society of Mechanical Engineers established a committee, and they came up with the rules for the safety and construction of steam boilers and other pressure vessels. It was due to, you know, kind of a situation where there was no rules and companies were making these boilers and there were no rules on it, and who knew what materials they were using, if they were testing the welds, whether the welding process they used was adequate. So anyways, there was a lot of problems. Boiler explosions. I used to have a graph that showed how many boiler explosions there were up until 1911. It was a rising graph, and then it falls pretty precipitously after that one. And as I said, it came down to, the prevention of explosions. There was a lot of boiler explosions back in the day, and if you do a Library of Congress search for pictures, you're going to find some boiler explosions. And this was a real safety hazard. So the American Society of Mechanical Engineers got together and came up with a set of rules for the manufacture of boilers and pressure vessels. So for the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, ASME, it starts with, they do things, they call them sections. So you've got ASME Boiler and Pressure Vessel Section 1, which is the rules for construction and power boilers. So these are big coal-fired boilers, or any boiler that is producing steam that is going to power a turbine to make electricity. This isn't for your a heating boiler or something like that. So then they've got Section 2, which tells you all the materials that you can use to make these boilers and any other components and or structures, pipe, whatever, for building boilers or any of these other codes. Section 3 for ASME is rules for construction of nuclear facility components. 4 is rules for construction of heating boilers. 5 is non-destructive examination. And 6 is for recommended care and operation of heating boilers. So the boiler and pressure vessel code, the big one that we worry about as if we're doing welding is Section 9, which is welding, brazing, and fusing qualifications. This covers both the qualification of people and the qualification of procedures. So we've got procedure qualification and performance qualification. So this covers welders, welding operators, brazers, brazing operators, plastic fusing operators, and the material joining process is used during welding, brazing, and fusing operations. All of this comes under the rules of ASME Boiler and Pressure Vessel Code, and it can come underneath. Okay, so the ASME, American Society of Mechanical Engineers, Boiler and Pressure Vessel Code, the rules were concerned with the safe design and fabrication and inspection during construction of boilers and pressure vessels to keep, boiler explosions from happening. To this day, it's still called the Boiler and Pressure Vessel Committee. And the function is pretty much the same as it originally was, other than they have picked up the interpretation of the rules. So they kind of act as the Supreme Court for their own rules. So if I have a question and I don't agree with what is written in there, I can challenge the rules and then they'll kick down a ruling. They will give me a ruling on, what they said. It's kind of like the Supreme Court in the United States. And in a lot of countries, it goes to the high court. The high court says, nope, this is what this rule means. That's how we're going to interpret it. The Boiler and Pressure Vessel Committee also does this. The committee meets regularly. If you enjoy these kinds of meetings, they're open to the public. They're all over the United States. So if you can afford to fly and take a week off and go visit these meetings, they'll send you, or you can go and visit them. You can sit in on them. They're open to the public. A bunch of guys arguing about filler material strengths or whatever is on their agenda for that particular day. Okay, so we're talking about Section 9. Section 9, you might have heard of ASME Section 9, ASME Section 9. This code is just for welding procedures and procedure and performance qualification. That's it. Welding, brazing, and other stuff. But welding, for the most part, is the bigger component of this code. There's no design criteria in Section 9. Section 9 is not going to tell you don't weld this to this. It's not that kind of a code. We'll kind of get into it a little more elsewhere and talk about design codes. Section 9 is a very wide open welding code because it allows the use of materials such as titanium, carbon steel, stainless steels, and aluminum alloys. So the American Welding Society came about in 1917 to figure out whether the United States shipyards could use welding to produce ships quicker because we were involved in World War I. So in 1919, they became the American Welding Society, even though the war was over. And since then, for the last 102 years, the American Welding Society is, developed and standardized and tried to unify the welding industry. Standardization efforts, on a lot of different fronts, involving, safety standards, specifications for welding, specifications for different filler materials, that kind of thing. So that's what the American Welding Society's been doing for the last 103 years. So when we're talking about the American Welding Society, the difference between their codes, for the most part, is they're fighting gravity. And the American Welding Society the American Welding Society, AWS D1.1, is a self-contained code. It's got all the design criteria, inspection criteria, all of that kinds of stuff. And it also contains, you can only use carbon steels with this code. With ASME Section 9, with the boiler and pressure vessel codes, you can use just about any material there is. But the American Welding Society, the structural welding code, is very focused and uses only carbon steels. So there's other welding codes that are produced by the American Welding Society that cover aluminum, stainless steel, sheet metals, and reinforcing bars, for example. And there's an extensive list of codes produced by the American Welding Society for welding a lot of different applications, types of structures, and different situations. Um, as I said, it only uses carbon steel, so it doesn't cover nearly as wide a scope of materials as ASME Section 9. ASME Section 9, you can use aluminum, titanium, whatever materials are listed in there, nickel alloys. AWS D1.1 is just for carbon steels, and it's for fighting gravity. It's structural. You're fighting gravity. You're not designing to keep pressure in. You're just fighting gravity. You're designing and welding things to hold things up. That's it. It's not a pressure vessel code. We've got the American Petroleum Institute. These guys do pipelines. It's been around for about 100 years. Uh, they've got all kinds of standards and specifications for a lot of different uh, criteria that involved in petroleum, pumping it out of the ground, moving it through pipelines. They talk about environmental safety, efficiency, sustainability, how to weld these pipelines, corrosion resistance. There's just a whole bunch of material that the American Petroleum Institute deals with, but it is specifically focused at petroleum, oil and gas, pipelines, more or less. American Bureau of Shipping. They've been around for 160 years. Their job is, it says right here, security of life, property, and the natural environment, primarily through the development and verification of standards for the design and construction and operational maintenance of marine and offshore assets. Basically, they do shipbuilding rules and some other stuff, but as far as welding goes, the ABS, they've got a set of rules that are involved for, shipping and shipbuilding. How do you weld ships together? Because that's going to be a whole different type of welding. I mean, the welding's going to be the same, but there's going to be some different criteria involved if you're welding a ship as opposed to a skyscraper or a power boiler that's going to, boil water into steam and then, send it down for a turbine for electrical generation. Then you got NAVSEA and, U.S. Navy and U.S. Army specifications, Air Force, because they've got some different criteria that they need met when they're building an aircraft carrier. A warship is a different type of situation than building an oil tanker. So the Navy has some specifications. The Army, a lot of the U.S. government organizations and military organizations within the U.S. government have their own, welding specifications.